Okay, we're recording now.
Oh, look at that. A big head.
Oh! Big head's coming for you. Okay. I'll be there in a second, viewers. Bobbers.
I think it's going very well without you, to be honest.
But me, shall I just stay down here? Sire. Right.
Are we a goer?
We are a goer.
I never know whether we are or not.
No. Well, that's the magic of it, isn't it, really? Just always be on, Richard. That's the key to that one.
Oh, I'm always on.
Okay. Brilliant.
So, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm all right. So, is this Bob 12?
Yes, this is Bob 12, and the other ones are like we've done Bob 1L.
We've done what?
Bob 1L.
I thought we were Bob 11A.
No, well, I think that should be 11S. So you've got
11S.
studio and live.
Oh, God. It would seem that we're getting more and more complex.
I know.
Actually, we're not. We're getting less.
We've been unravelled.
So, we've had a good week.
Yeah, it's been all right so far.
I'd like to thank you for giving me your cold.
Oh, you've got it, have you?
I have.
Well,
I
I thought
have.
I'd
I'm a
give it
little
to you.
bit sort of under the weather. I haven't got the full blown.
No, not yet.
On the grounds that you and Rach have actually been quite poorly, haven't you?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Plowed through, but yeah.
Well,
Everyone's
she's
doing
done the
great.
same, and I'm planning on doing the same too. So,
This
up
is
and at 'em,
great,
keep
isn't it?
going, keep going.
Ill one week, ill the next. Okay, so we've got some quite exciting news in terms of we may be
Have we?
relocating.
Oh yes. This could be the last show from Betpo Towers.
Yes.
So we're
Small Door Studios.
going to the post office,
We are, yes. to
and we
get
shall
our stamps.
deliver. We shall deliver.
Absolutely, we don't know what yet.
We've
but-
been offered a studio, haven't we, by the lovely
Yes.
Jono?
Yes, from Filthy Shakespeare.
Sorry.
Filthy Shakespeare is the company they
Okay.
go under by
But
the name
it's
of.
a lovely studio
Yes.
and even
Equip-
better gear.
Oh yes, well that's why
But
we're going for the
I
gear.
would miss the sort of Bob taping and things like that.
So would I. Well, we can bring it with us, can't we? I think this should come with us wherever we go.
I don't think you'll like us very much if we put gaffer tape all over everything, but yeah.
You might enjoy a bit of gaffer tape, you don't know?
Filthy Shakespeare.
Exactly. But don't judge a book by its cover. Don't be a play by its
That must
first
be a
scene.
Shakespearean quote, surely.
There was gaffer tape invented in the 17th
No,
century.
don't judge a book by its cover. But yeah,
Oh
probably.
yeah,
Yes.
maybe, it probably is.
Many are. Many of those
Exactly.
sort of sayings come from old Will.
Plagiarising him all the way.
So shall we essentially sort of
Crack
give
on.
a bit of a resume of what we do?
Yes, so this is the Brothers of Battenberg, Bob, if you will.
I'm Mr. Sleek.
I'm Sci-Pi the Poacher Guy, and we bring, of course, everyone knows that a Battenberg comprises of 4 squares.
4 squares make a slice.
Exactly, or a show. We bring 2 of those squares each.
2 squares bring 2 squares.
Exactly. And those squares are a topic of conversation that neither of us know what the other one is bringing.
Well,
That
that's
makes
right.
sense.
I mean, when we start every show, I've absolutely no idea what you're bringing, and to be quite frank, I'm not 100% sure what I'm bringing at various times. But we'll have a go. So, Sci-Pi the Poacher Guy,
Okay.
Bob 12.
Yeah.
What's your first square?
My first square is unicorns.
Unicorns.
Yeah.
Do they exist?
Well, do they exist? There was a chap online, of all places, that was inquiring as to whether they do exist
It's
or
just
not.
a bloody horse with a horn, isn't it?
That is the definition. Yes, a horse, a white horse
Yeah.
with a cone on its head, 1 horn. And apparently the
Cone,
two,
I said.
yeah, yeah,
Cornetto.
yeah, that's it. And the tears and blood give you the elixir of life.
It is. It's a very
Healing
mythical
powers.
creature, isn't it?
Yeah, they're yet to find any. Apparently, there are no fossil
Well, there's a
remains
surprise.
of a unicorn. You can have the unicorn unionists up in arms. But yes, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, it's a mythical beast, isn't it? Basically,
Well, my daughter believes in them,
does she?
and I think, unicorns are sort of a source of great hope, aren't they?
Yeah, I think
And
them-
happiness and cheerfulness.
They're
And
apparently very fashionable at the moment. I think they've always been
Fashionable.
fashionable with little girls. dare I say, the unicorn, My Little Pony style.
And fantasy fans, if you like.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's I mean, they've been used in many places as well. I found out today that there's quotes within the Bible.
Say that again. They've been used in all sorts of places.
Yeah.
They don't exist.
Well, this is what does exist is another question. But to many people who believe the Bible, for example, they may believe in unicorns, because there are 9 references
That
to
doesn't
unicorns.
surprise me.
9 references to unicorns in the King James Bible in 5 different books.
Really?
Yes. So one was, and God, I've got the quote here. Right? God brought them out of Egypt, and He hath it as it were the strength of an unicorn.
An Egyptian unicorn?
Yeah. Well, why not?
It's a camel with a stick on its head.
Richard, no, it's not. It's a unicorn.
I'm not having this unicorn thing.
Well, if it's gospel truth, apparently.
Gospel truth?
Voldemort, you know.
Well,
Harry
that's true
Potter,
as well, isn't it?
He liked a good bit of unicorn blood. He suffered for it, but at least he got
He
to
did,
stay
he
the
did.
course.
Yeah, there is a very quite moving and beautiful thing with the unicorn in Harry Potter. You're right. Yeah. So, are you a fan?
A fan of the unicorn? I mean, I'm neither here nor there with them, really. I've never met one, so I can't. In my reality, whatever that is, they don't. I've never met one. So
They seem
I
very
can't
calming, very kind, very giving.
They're supposed to represent purity and
Purity?
joy. And they have cloven hooves.
Do they really?
They do.
Do they have? I mean, a lot of the ones that I see, I've got to be honest, having Jessica as a 9-year-old, generally have rainbows on them.
Unicorns and rainbows are...
And that sort of says it all for me.
Yeah. Well, they're lovely, aren't they?
Well, it is, yeah. There's a croc at the end of both. But no, it is. I mean, people collect them.
They do, don't they? I'm trying to remember the words now. There's this. I got detoured by this guy called Richard Riches or Rich Riches on YouTube when I was typing.
Well, I have been known as Richie Rich in certain.
It wasn't you, Richard.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't you.
No.
It was another guy called Richard or Rich who he it's like spiral. It's spiratal. It's this adjective that describes a unicorn's horn, and it's apparently another. It means like lots of lines in something.
I don't know. Sort of conical spiral.
Yeah, I can't remember the word. I'm gonna have to look it up. But anyway, there was this guy who was doing this with his shoulders. He was like a hench dude who was like showing people how to get spiraled shoulders or what have you. I mean, it looks, and it's not my cup of tea. He was doing the good for the protein lovers of the world.
The protein lovers?
Well, you know, the whey protein.
I suppose unicorns would be protein, wouldn't they?
You can have that one.
Oh, God. I mean, unicorn. Why
that's
unicorn? What is it about this mythical sort of cone-shaped horn that makes it? Because the unicorn's horn was supposed to give you the, I think, the secret to eternal life, wasn't it?
Yes.
Not for the unicorn.
No, as I say, the tears and the blood. Apparently, I don't know. They say like a rhino's horn.
A rhino's horn
is supposed to be an aphrodisiac. I don't know, something that's incredibly invigorating in some way, vital. Yeah, I mean, it sounds, doesn't it, like just some sort of...
I never got that. I mean, you grind up a rhino's horn.
Yeah.
And yet it would seem to be far more sexual in its full shape.
Yes. Well, maybe they've overcomplicated things.
I think they have. I think they have dried up rhino horn to help you get it up. I'm sorry.
Just use the horn.
Just use the unicorn tears. Secret of eternal life. It'll heal everything.
That's it. But yeah, I suppose what I'm getting at with this one is sort of like fairy tale, isn't it? And things like that, and this mythology that we can create. It's the power of imagination, as far as I'm aware.
If a unicorn had more than one horn, would it be a bicorn? Or a tricorn? Is there any sort of...
No, there is no other kind of horn.
No other kind of horn?
Just a uni one.
Just a uni one. The other unicorn I can think of that comes to mind is there are very famous darts. manufacturer.
Oh, they are, aren't they?
So if you see round the edges of the dartboards on the coverage on the television and so on, you'll see unicorn on that. And that comes, of course, from the fact that they were manufacturers of darts, and the horn being the sharp bit at the end of the dart.
Yeah.
And more of a descriptive thing. Yeah, unicorns. Oh,
Do you believe in fairies, Richard?
No.
No.
I'm sorry, I don't.
That's all right.
I enjoy the fantasy aspect of it. I mean, going to festivals over the years and seeing the sort of fancy dress days, which are normally either the Friday or the Saturday. You see hundreds of fairies, hundreds of unicorns, and it is that type of light frothiness that's sort of that unreality. And it is gentle and it's fun, and I would not be one for putting unicorns in room 101 if they existed. But I suppose when people get a bit over the top about them, Jessica had a spell where, you know, it was unicorn this and unicorn that, which I suppose is why I'm not particularly enamoured with the subject
at the moment.
A unicorn fatigued a little bit.
Yeah.
And Ellie, Charlotte's second eldest, she draws them all the time.
Yeah.
I want them to draw things that they see around them. I want them to draw. I want them to see.
Does that matter though, really?
I mean,
Why does it matter? Well, isn't it great to have an imagination and draw what you don't see?
Well, it is, but it's not what they don't see. It's what they're being bombarded by the various TV companies and online platforms that they use.
I see.
On the grounds the unicorn is seen as something that is completely and utterly healthy and wholesome, if you like. It's like something that all parents can accept that their children can see and look at, if you like. And I suppose it's a positive in a world where there are so many things that we don't want our kids to see. But it is a bit banal.
Yes, I mean...
Plastic unicorns proliferate at this moment in time, and...
You never see an angry unicorn, do you?
No,
like
no.
Unicorn for miners' rights or stuff like that.
Up the miners! That's what I say. You could use a unicorn, actually, couldn't you?
If it wanted to, it could
Make
do
a good
damage.
miner.
I mean, I don't believe in unicorns, but as I say, I'm probably more of a doubting Thomas. If I haven't seen it, or there's no fossilised evidence, then it's very difficult to
for me,
believe.
unicorns are less likely than things like Loch Ness Monster.
Or in fact, fairies. I mean,
Landlocked
I know a
loch.
lady who does
Yeah, it's
believe
possible
in
that
fairies.
some kind of dinosaur or large species still exists. But unicorns, no, they never did.
No, I don't think they did. And this is the bad thing. I don't know how it got into the Bible. I found that really quite amazing. It's
I do as well. That
away.
threw me completely. 9 mentions of unicorns in the Bible.
Yes.
And that's probably more than many of the much more important issues that are covered in the Bible.
Yes. So we have unicorns.
Unicorns!
Get
A
us going.
fantasy start.
Yes.
From this point, it goes real. Well, actually,
We'll be the judge of that.
actually, I'm not sure about that.
There we go.
I'm not sure about that. So, what we have is my first square.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm going to bring the right piece of paper.
Fantastic.
And my first square relates to a very strange claim to fame that I've discovered this week.
Right.
And that is, and I have mentioned it to you, but I've not mentioned it to our bobbers.
He'll get it in.
I'm not keen on Google.
Yeah.
I have never been keen on Google. I don't like them.
Yeah.
They are too intrusive, they are presumptuous, and so on. They're one of the big 4 companies, technological companies. And last summer I had an opportunity. And I urge people to have a look, because it says everything I feel about Google.
Right.
And I was with Steph down at the Gumption Centre.
Glide House, yeah.
Down at Glide House in the centre of Bradford. And opposite is the ice rink, and there's a set of traffic lights where everything gets stuck. It's a bit of a sort of side road between the 2 arterial roads of Bradford.
Mm.
And the Google streetcar was there. And I took my opportunity. And my opportunity was to essentially vent at Google with its little spinning little camera on the top. And I just went.
There is proof of this, yeah.
And it is now on. If you go onto Google Maps and look up the Gumption Centre, Bradford, you'll see this slightly larger, a lot larger man in a purple shirt sticking two fingers up at the Google streetcar. Now, this may be seen by many of our bobbers as very childish, but it does matter what Google are all about.
So you're bringing Google to
I'm
me.
bringing Google.
You're bringing Google?
I'm bringing Google. Now, as you know...
What is it that you despise so much about Google?
Well, I'm going to give you a bit of context for my because I don't hate or despise that many things.
No.
But those hatreds and really form in me from a mistrust of something, I think. Where something is so jarring against what I believe, if you like. And I'll give you a bit of background on Google. Google was founded, one of the earliest of the big tech companies. The four big tech companies, of course, are Facebook, Amazon, Apple, and Google. Those are the four biggest. And it was founded in 1998 by two chaps, Larry Page and Sergey Brin. And if I give you their mission statement, it kind of sums up for me that presumptuousness that Google have always had. And their mission statement is to organise the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. That is their mission statement. It always has been and it always will be, I presume. And originally, it came from the word Google, which is actually a number. And I think that's where Larry Page and Sergey Brin, they pretended to be something that they were not. They were looking to massively monetize an idea within the tech platform world, because Google means 1 followed by 100 zeros. And to be quite fair, Larry Page and Sergey Brin have actually got there, really. Both of them are now in the top 10 richest people in the world. And they've got there by being probably the best at what they do. They're brilliant at what they do. The Google search engine even entered into the Oxford English Dictionary, Google something. But it's what they do with your actions that pisses me off.
So are you talking about the advertising side of things?
The monetarisation of it. Google is actually part of Alphabet Incorporated, which is the parent company for Google. And essentially it's been a money-making machine for 21 years now. And they pretend to be your friend. Interestingly enough, Google Plus has recently begun because I think a lot of people share my mistrust of Google. And it is, for me, my hatred comes from their tax avoidance strategies. When you look at Larry Page and Sergey Brin being in the top 10 richest people in the world, both worth in excess of $50 billion, and you look at the fact that Google, as a tax threshold across all its earnings across the world, only actually pays about 2.3% in tax.
Does it give charitably in any other way?
I mean, you or I would pay 20%.
Yeah.
Google have enormous tax avoidance strategies. Sorry, what was the question?
It was. This is a genuine question. Does it give out in other ways? Because I mean,
yes, it does.
For me,
it set up its own philanthropic arm.
Yeah, I don't, because I'm not. In all honesty, I'll go on record. The governments of this world, as companies and ethical forces, are up for question for me. I mean, I'm not up for just automatically paying tax and thinking that's a good thing, because look at the British government. I mean, a lot of that goes on. Well, look at the US government. How much of those taxes go on war? You're essentially funding a war machine.
I absolutely
if you pay
agree.
American tax.
But with Google, they've made themselves extraordinarily rich. And we talked about Bob Geldof last week and give us all your fucking money. And in fact, it was the fact that he shouldn't have to do it. I get that point. But Google are not the people I want to do it. I'd much prefer governments or charities and so on who exist in their experience. A lot of their
or Donald Trump.
Neither.
Yeah.
It is their philanthropic presumption again that I don't like. I mean, Google's philanthropic side actually funds many of the new areas of technology for people that they then monetize and make enormous amounts, like the driverless cars, for example. That's been funded through their philanthropic arm.
Mm.
Because we all need a driverless car, don't we? So, and many of their apps and so on are free. I mean, they are free. I've talked about Google Street Maps. We use their products all the time. It's not about that. It's about who they say they are and what they actually are.
Mm.
They're a sham. They're a facade.
There's a lot like that, isn't there?
They're also very aggressive in... They own Android, for example. YouTube. And you can't do any of those things without a Google Gmail.
Absolutely, yeah.
And they tie you in. And then all of a sudden you've been looking on late online for whatever you look on late online, side part of the Poetry Guide. And all of a sudden it's in your timeline again.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah,
So you look for a pair of socks and all of a sudden you're bombarded with socks from everywhere.
They're all at it. They're on Facebook.
Is that useful?
Instagram.
It is, and you can opt out of them all. The Google one is much more difficult in my mind, and I've tried it, to opt out, because a lot of it doesn't work if you do.
No.
So if you take out ad choices and so on, lots of websites don't work. And in those circumstances, there isn't really a choice. There are better search engines. There are better... You talked about Ecosia, for example.
Yes.
And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and pull away from the Google monster.
Fair play.
The one with 100 noughts.
Yes.
Google.
So what's your answer, if you have one? Because we're talking about the multi-conglomerate...
Yeah, first of all, we need to tax
businesses.
these bugs properly.
But how do we do that on a global level?
We charge them with their intentions. If you are looking to evade tax, then essentially that is wrong and morally corrupt.
Is this a job for the UN?
It's not tax avoidance. That is something different. This is grand-scale larceny. I'll give you an example. In 2017, Google channeled $22.7 billion from its operations in the mighty Netherlands.
Oh, yeah.
Guess where they put it?
Cayman Islands.
Bermuda.
Right.
And that, therefore, reduced its US tax bill to zero. So they're philanthropic, they're helping us out. They're bloody large-scale criminals.
Yes,
it's wrong.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is, it's like the larger the organisation, it seems the less tax they want to pay. There's people in our industry, I guess, Global Radio, that...
Aren't we Global Radio?
Well, we are technically, but there's actually
we're part of the world.
There's a company called Global Radio that owns Heart FM, Classic FM, the LBC, the London Talk Radio, Heart, Kiss, all the ones that aren't the BBC basically fall under eventually an umbrella organisation called Global Radio. They're based on the Isle of Man, and you'll never guess. Of course they are, because everyone listens to radio on the Isle of Man. And you never guess where their money goes.
When do you have enough money? Where does their money go?
I think it goes off to the Cayman Islands again, or somewhere in the Caribbean. They made a few years ago. They made about £30 million, not as much as Google, but 30 million profits. And instead of paying anything of that, they actually just took a loan out against themselves, another company. So it all went offshore. So the company actually made zero profits in the end. So they didn't have to pay any tax.
It's like Donald Trump, innit? The reason he won't give his bloody tax affairs away is because he lost hundreds of millions of pounds building a casino in Atlantic City.
Well, I think
How do you lose money on a casino, Donald?
well,
You must be great.
I think the only way Donald Trump's a billionaire
And therefore,
is billions
he's
of
been
pounds worth of
offsetting
debt.
that against his wealth and his tax, and he's been avoiding taxes for the last 19 years. I would bet if Donald Trump does eventually show his tax affairs, it will show that he pays less than a family of two on $25,000 a year or whatever. It's nonsense. Where do these people get the bloody gall to opt out of what all our responsibilities are? They want the society that we want, or seem to, unless they hide away like one of the founders of Google does on an island in the middle of the Atlantic. It's nonsense.
Perhaps
It
they're better
has
than
to
us.
change.
You know, perhaps that's the
That's
reason.
what they think, and that's what comes across.
Yeah.
They do think they're better than us.
They
They
deserve
think they're more intelligent. They think, but they're not. They're just shysters. They found a way to begat money, and money begats money. And when you've got it, you all of a sudden seem to think you are better than everybody else. It's always been thus, and
Yeah.
it's not true. We talked about valuing different sort of feelings, emotions, skills last week.
Mm.
I do not value somebody taking all my information that belongs to me and sharing it with a whole load of advertisers and then creaming off the top and then not paying tax on what I have given them.
Yeah, and it's that involuntary giving as well. It's like you
It
can't
is.
avoid it. It's
Is.
very difficult to avoid. It's like walking down the street and not walking on the pavement.
Yeah,
It's,
I mean, interestingly, one of the real, you know how I've sort of said that they are something that they are not. They are a charade. Google is actually the #1 company to work for in the US.
Yeah, I've heard they have quite quirky things.
And one of the
about
reasons for
working with
that
them.
is because they give all their employees 20% of their time. They allow their employees to do whatever they like that they have a passion in.
Yeah.
And those types of things sound wonderful and make Google sound all quirky and cute and so on. It isn't. It is not quirky and cute. They are insidious bastards. And I cannot get any further than that. I have very rarely brought to the show something that I hate quite as much.
I can feel your passion.
And
about this.
I'm probably needing to end this square or go elsewhere in the square.
Well, I think I want to pin you down a bit more about how do we make them accountable, because this is where it ultimately comes, and this is the problem of the 21st century, the third millennium, isn't it? That essentially these companies have become bigger than anything else on the planet, and therefore they are the big boys, and they make the rules. So,
Well,
in order
George
for them to
Osborne.
to pay their tax, who's going to do it? It's got to be someone like the UN or some sort of body that needs to be set up
I agree.
by multinational company, a multinational, effort, because this is a multinational
Absolutely.
problem,
It's
isn't
about fairness. I mean, we've talked about that wonderful statistic about 57 people in the world owning half the world's wealth.
Mm.
It's actually getting worse on a second by second by second by second basis. And at some point, somebody's going to grasp the nettle and say, actually, you're wrong. You really should be paying your taxes, and you should be contributing to the society that you present, that you care about. You do not care about a society or its people when you starve the money supplied by them and then trickle a little bit back.
Absolutely.
And that is the insidious nature
This
of
is
it.
where government needs to take its what it's there for, to really take the hold of these situations and stand up to them. The problem at the moment is that many politicians are either too cowardly or they're too greedy, because they will get backhanders left, right and centre, won't they, from the people that want to keep the system the way it is.
Absolutely vested interest. George Osborne said he'd done a fantastic deal with Google, and that he'd got a one-off payment of £130 million or whatever in tax. And to be fair to him, it was the most anyone had ever got out of bloody Google ever. That's how bad it was.
So are we boycotting Google? Shall we? Are we advocating that?
I'm advocating boycotting
Ecosia,
Google.
go for that. Save the trees.
Ecosia.
Plant trees,
Absolutely.
not bank Google's money. We'll have to work on it.
And if you see the Google streetcar anywhere in your neighbourhood, and I mean, that's another thing. They use shit cars. Little Fiesta or whatever as a Google streetcar. And it says everything, really. I don't know, they almost do things on the cheap and then just skim it and skim it and skim it and skim it. If you see the Google streetcar, I urge you, perhaps be more imaginative than me and just give them that. All right? Just give them that. Give them the old Harvey Smith. And Google, if you ever watch this on your platform, YouTube,
There we go.
I urge you, please, I give you permission to not just unpixelate the two fingers that I stuck up on Google Street Maps, but also unpixelate my face. Thank you.
There we go. Square 2 done. I'm going to say at this time of the show, we've got a little game going, don't we?
Yes.
Which is find the coffee.
I have no idea.
Yeah, exactly. this is sort of like a Where's Wally product placement sort of thing going on here. So if you can find the coffee, I don't know, what are we giving away a prize?
I think a cake. We
cake?
definitely give them a cake.
Give them a Battenberg.
We'll give you a Battenberg.
If you
We've
can
got.
tell us.
We're gonna have. If anybody has any decent recipes for Battenberg, especially a gluten-free Battenberg, Sharita at Riri's would be very grateful because she tried to make some, and she tried it out on the reggae night.
Yeah.
And apparently it came out brown and yellow.
Right.
Which
I've
didn't
got a
quite.
link for her.
Have you?
Yeah, there's a gluten-free baker in Sheffield that's won awards for her gluten-free cakes. So she may be able to sort her out with some.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. A recipe or whatever.
Well, so if you do find the coffee bag, by the way, in this video, on the radio, obviously, that's going to be tricky. But maybe you can hear it. It's give us the colours, guess, because otherwise you're going to say it's over there, and it's going to be a bit.
Well, yeah, that would probably
broad.
be wrong. Yes,
But yeah,
it would not work very well.
Give us the colour. I'm working hard.
Not working out.
Right.
So yeah, well, the other thing is, of course, we've also booked our second live show.
We have, yes.
So any bobbers out there who didn't come last time, or those that came last time,
Come on
we
down.
promise to be better.
Yes, I mean we do. I mean I thought it went all right, but we're gonna.
They enjoyed it. We
Yeah.
got away with it.
There's
but
going to be a few
we're
extra
gonna
things,
be
I'm
better.
sure. We will be better.
Yeah.
Same place, Riri's Coffee House,
And that's going to be on
8th of May.
Wednesday, May the 8th
Yeah.
at 7 for 7:30 recording.
That's it, yeah.
And you will also get to sing the Bobbers song, which is essentially not. I thought they did very well, actually. First run through, they did very well, didn't they?
Yeah, they did superbly well, yes.
I mean, if it's going to be a Christmas single, you're going to have to do better, though.
Well, we'll see what we can do.
So,
The time
the
available.
poetry guy,
Yes.
what's your second square?
My second square is, I'm going to remember it for a second, Roundabouts.
Roundabouts?
Yeah.
Ooh, I like a good roundabout.
So do I. Do you have a favourite?
I do, actually.
Go on. Tell me your favourite roundabout.
I think my favourite roundabout is the 5-lane ends one at Eccles Hill in Bradford.
Oh,
That's a beauty. It is. You put your life in your hands every time you get onto that roundabout, but it is fantastic.
I did that one for the first time today, which is quite a thing. Yes, I took the wrong exit.
Well, you
Came
will
off too
do.
soon.
I mean, I think there are 6 exits off it.
Oh, 5 Layers End.
I know it sounds wrong, doesn't
That's
it?
one of those things, isn't it?
I shall count it next time.
But yeah, my favourite roundabout is the one just off Manningham Lane. It's a mini roundabout, and it's genius. And it takes you up Boldland Lane, which is on Lum Lane.
Yes, I know the one now, yeah.
And if that roundabout wasn't there, you would be waiting for hours to get across that traffic. But as soon as that roundabout's there, you've got the right of way. You just keep going, and they've got to stop. And
Is there a right of? Oh, come on! There can't be a right of way in Manningham. The driving in Bradford is extraordinary. I've got to say.
The laws are a little less around that part of town. I do agree. But even so,
5-lane ends, though, you do take your life in your hands every time you go in. And if you really want to sort of bemuse and worry people, go around twice.
right, yeah.
It's
Well, you can
one of
keep
my
on going
highlights.
round and round. Arc de
I do
Triomphe.
it occasionally.
What a fantastic roundabout that is.
Ah,
In
that's
Paris.
true. Yeah, that's a brilliant one.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Apparently, they the official roundabout.
The Boulevard Périphérique, isn't it? Or
Is that what it
is that the ring road that goes around? I think
don't know.
that roundabout goes off onto the Boulevard Périphérique, which I think is 6 lanes, isn't it?
Right. I don't know. It's beautiful. I mean, it's just, you can just go round and round, can't you? Really, and take it all in.
So do you like a good concrete roundabout, or do you like a tree-lined or?
Well, this is the great
Some of the ones
thing.
you get coming off motorways and so on
You
are
can put
wonderful. They're like
anything you
nature
like.
parks.
Exactly. You can have a wonderful flower arrangement on there, or a statue to perhaps the inventor of the roundabout. I don't know who he was. 1905, roughly, was when the roundabout was first brought.
1905.
Yes.
Okay.
Was like the official times were recorded roundabouts.
Oh,
But
that'd be
they've-
fun. There wouldn't be that many cars, so you could go round and round. couldn't
Yeah,
you?
yeah. The thing I learned today about roundabouts is they didn't used to be as safe as they once were,
Right.
because until a certain date they didn't. It basically you had right of way coming onto the roundabout rather than the traffic going round the roundabout having right of way. So which made them which was apparently why the US got once bitten twice shy effect with it. They started with them, had some quite nasty crashes, and were like, we're not doing this right, guys. And so 1966 was when, enshrined in law, the new roundabout rules, or the modern roundabout rules, were put into place, and thus became what a roundabout is. And
I
will
once
never be.
got away with a very, very near miss in Spain
Okay.
because I went round the roundabout the wrong way,
Oh wow.
and that was a couple of seconds of my life that I was in a Seat Leon, and I had 4 other people in the car, and they all just screamed, and I just put my foot down and got away with it.
Wow.
But wow, yeah.
Yeah, my mate went round a roundabout.
They don't get
the
it
wrong
right,
way.
do they? I mean, you always go that way round the roundabout.
Absolutely.
What do they think they are? Bloody Europe.
This is it. This is why we're leaving. Not enough roundabouts going the right way. But I've got some statistics for you
Have
about
you?
roundabouts. Yeah. I know. Look at this. Right. 39%. If you have a roundabout somewhere where there wasn't one,
I do love a good
I
statistic.
know you do. 39% reduction in crashes just by having a roundabout there.
I suppose it slows you down, doesn't it?
Well, you've got that. It brings equality. I find 76% decrease in injury-producing crashes, and a 90% decrease in collisions that are involving fatalities, basically, or decapacitating crashes,
Yeah.
which is massive. And 75% reduction in traffic delays, so they ease congestion. They're fantastic things.
Well,
I love
yeah.
them.
I mean, it's interesting because I spend an awful lot of my life on the road through Saltaire, going to pick the kids up and so on. And there used to be the famous, in the wrong way, Saltaire roundabout.
Mm.
And they've replaced it.
They have, haven't they? Yeah.
And I miss it in a way.
Yeah.
Because I was good at that roundabout.
Weird.
I could get out basically in a very small space. Generally to the accompaniment of hooting horns, etc.
Yeah.
But I could get out on that one. But with traffic lights, and now with there being 5 sets of traffic lights through Shipley and Saltaire, I swear I'm there longer. I miss the roundabout, and I'm
the
sure
traffic hasn't.
it's not got any better, has it?
After that, but it's not great. It's still
and they've
pretty
got rid
trawling.
of a roundabout.
The other kind of roundabout I wanted to mention during the square is, of course, the Magic Roundabout. It sort of relates to unicorns in some ways. What
Okay.
a wonderful show that was! I watched a little one.
Eric Thompson.
This afternoon, and it was a story.
You're a man full of surprises, you are.
What was the cow called?
Ermintrude.
Ermintrude. This episode was about Ermintrude thinking that she was a bus.
Excellent.
Yes.
You see, that's children's television at its best.
It was lovely.
Far more realistic than unicorn.
Dylan wanted a ride on the bus.
Oh, Dylan.
But she said that if he wanted a ride, he'd have to pay, and he wasn't prepared to pay.
Yeah,
so he didn't
hippie.
get his ride.
Hippie.
Yeah, exactly.
He expected, didn't he? He just wanted a handout.
So come on, free rides, man.
Who else was there? There was Dougal.
Dougal, yeah.
Dougal the dog,
There
who
was
basically
Zebedee.
looked like the sort of bottom end of a brush without the handling, didn't he, Dougal the dog?
Yeah, I suppose he did.
Zebedee, time for bed, kids. Florence.
Yes.
I think there was something going on between them. There was a frisson.
Could well have been. He had a spring in his spring.
That was frisson, not threesome.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and Ermintrude. What was it? Was it Ermintrude?
Ermintrude, yeah.
Ermintrude.
Yeah, she had a flower on her ass.
On her ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also on a hat, I think.
She
well.
was eating a flower in this episode. Did she not always eat a flower as well?
I think she did, yeah, which can't be that good for her.
Well, this is, I think, why she might have thought she was a bus, to be honest. That's what came across. But what a wonderful roundabout that is.
Oh, it's tremendous. I mean, Magic Roundabout, I believe, was originally commissioned by French television.
Really?
And Le Roundabout Magique.
Le Roundabout Magique.
And Eric Thompson was actually the father of Emma Thompson, Dame Emma Thompson.
Really? Okay.
So she must have had a pretty sort of interesting childhood.
Yeah.
But it obviously gave her that passion for entertaining and for making her mark in the world, perhaps.
Yes. I mean, it came through, it was through the 70s, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
It, for me, it came across like it was... Absolutely. It came across to me like just a come down from the 60s, really.
Well, they did a film of it as well. And a few years ago, I haven't heard of it for a few years, just north of Skipton, there was actually a festival called the Magic Roundabout.
I'm not surprised by that. I mean, I'd look at that for kids.
Yeah. I mean, have you been on any sort of scary roundabouts? Not driving, but actually on the rides roundabouts.
Oh, you mean like on playground? Yeah, I remember. You know, you'd go as fast as you can and just hold on for dear life, wouldn't you?
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
wonder if
once
kids do that anymore. Or they just do that. Is there a roundabout app that you just spin on these days?
No, you take them to park. I mean, Jessica loves roundabouts.
That's
We
good.
go at the Crossroads one, and that one is quite weird because it's slightly off on a kilter, and it's one of those sort of bowl roundabouts. So you sort of sit like in a cup, and you sort of lean back, and essentially your own weight keeps it going. It has its own momentum, and she gets rather strange on those, but won't come off. Enjoys that whizziness, if you like.
Great.
She's going to be a party animal.
Yeah.
I once tried to use it. There's a video on my Facebook somewhere of Jessica, and she's going, "I am feeling dizzy," and I used it. I thought it sounded basically like a hypnotic sort of trance, if you like, which I suppose it is when you sort of enter into that parallel feeling, if you like.
Yes, the dizziness.
And I tried to
sort of
say,
the world's spinning round.
And while she was going, "I am feeling dizzy," I said, "You will behave yourself. You will behave yourself."
How did that go?
Well, she actually came out and she said, "I will kill you all." As a 5-year-old, which was a worry, really.
Yes, well, we're all career criminals from an early age.
Do
like Paige, eh?
Do you like big wheels?
Big wheels?
Well, they're roundabouts in a way, aren't they?
What, like vertical roundabouts?
Yeah.
I suppose so. Do I like them? I've got nothing against them. I wouldn't say I love them. They're a bit too slow for me on the whole.
Bit too slow. Well, you'd like the sort of London Eye to do 50 mile an hour. That would be cool.
I don't know, it's just...
I think even I might come out of retirement from roundabouts for that one.
Yeah. I don't know. Big wheels, you get them on the fair, don't you, more? They're all right.
They're called Ferris,
If you're going to do a ride, I prefer a roller coaster to a big wheel, yeah.
You do know that you're speaking to the man who essentially his first job away from home as a fey 16-year-old was running the ghost train at Great Yarmouth.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
Mm.
We were right opposite the Satellite. Remember the Satellite? It was a very fast roundabout that, as it got faster and faster, it then tipped up on its axis.
Ah, yes.
Well, I happen to know that on one occasion they came within about 3 turns of the thing rolling down the pleasure beach. So I think rides and fairground rides, you know, they are dangerous.
Yeah,
but
that's
it's
the
that.
thrill of them, isn't it?
I have a friend of mine in Grimsby, Martin Webster, who essentially goes to Alton Towers twice a year for a near-death experience.
Or the Oblivion.
Well, whatever it is, yeah. I mean, he just gets an old park ticket and off he goes. But it's not for me. Not for me anymore. This chair and its movement is probably about enough for me now.
That's it. Roundabout is nice. Before I forget, I did write a poem about roundabouts.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
I thought you were coming to that in a sort of roundabout way. Really.
Oh, did you? That's
one.
Half. That's one. That is one. But they're still quite a good one. They're getting better. I must admit there. Don't go any further though, because you started off really well.
And then can be patronised.
Oh. Well, I can't talk.
Roundabouts.
Right. Roundabouts. Everyone enjoys a good roundabout. Pulling out, giving way. So let me count the ways in which I love a good... I can't read my own writing.
Oh, this is going well.
It is, isn't it? We'll have to miss that word out. If a roundabout were in charge, it would be see you later, Brexit. Oh, here we go, exit. We'll start again. This is terrific. Roundabouts. Everyone enjoys a good roundabout. Pulling out, giving way. So let me count the ways in which I love a good exit. If a roundabout were in charge, it would be see you later, Brexit.
Yay!
1 is for equality. Just get out when you can. 2 is for a lack of pedestrians. No thank you, dead woman or man. 3 is for the central features, flower beds and adverts. Yes, I love the roundabout so much it almost hurts.
Oh, do you know? That was almost worth waiting for. That was very good. If I was in, they sponsor roundabouts.
Oh yes.
I think as we progress in the world of entertainment and life, I think we should look to sponsor a roundabout.
Do you reckon? I think that's a great idea.
And I think we should have it yellow and pink flowers.
Yeah.
And have a theme for Battenberg.
Let's do Baildon Roundabout. There's loads of
make
traffic
people
there.
smile.
Yeah.
Well, we can't just do it. I think you have to pay.
Oh yeah.
Well,
but
imagine.
I know the guys.
We could hijack a roundabout.
There's the guys at
An
BIG.
uncared one.
An uncared roundabout.
An uncared for one.
Do you think we should? Maybe we should do this. Do you think we should pirate gig a roundabout? We should just hijack a roundabout.
Oh, I think so.
See if we do it.
Yeah.
And see who stops us, if anybody.
A pink and yellow roundabout.
Hoot if you're Bobby.
Hoot if you're Bobby. Excellent. So, is it my turn? My second square?
It is your second square. Your
fantastic.
fourth square. Has anybody found out where the coffee is, by the way?
Oh, I have no idea.
And does anybody have any opinions on roundabouts? It'd be great if we got a bit more commenting. If people want to say anything about, anything really.
I can see it.
Can you?
Yeah, I'm going to enter. I'm going to enter later.
I don't think I can see it. I haven't spotted it yet.
Yeah.
Can't tell me.
This may be one of the worst features we've ever done. Right, my second square so far, Pertigan.
Yes.
Yes, I was in tears just before you picked me up on Sunday.
Where?
Yes. I didn't think you were coming.
I think. I think I always arrive.
You do. Always. Bit like we've got a sort of movable feast on the time, but yes.
Yeah, we do.
And that's same with me as well. As with me, absolutely. Battenberg, a metaphor for life. Mine is comebacks.
Comeback. I knew I could feel
And the
this coming.
greatest comeback of all time. The greatest sporting comeback of all time.
That's a bold claim.
And it's Tiger Woods.
Tiger
Woods. Eldrick Tont Woods.
Tont?
Tont. T-O-N-T. You can see why he called himself Tiger.
Yeah.
Born on 30th of December 1975.
Right.
And in terms of golf, there's no doubt is at least the second best golfer of all time.
Okay.
Probably behind Jack Nicklaus if you essentially count the way in which these things are counted, which is in Grand Slam titles, in major titles. And Tiger Woods currently has 15 and Jack Nicklaus has 18. Tiger Woods, however, has won more tournaments worldwide, and he's only 2 off the PGA Tour record, which is he's won another 80 tournaments.
He's run a heck of a lot, hasn't he?
And anybody who has ever seen Tiger Woods will never, ever be in any doubt that the man has a charisma about him. Whether it's as a 43-year-old now, having come back. It's 11 years since he last won his last major title.
Really?
And in that time, he's had 4 serious back injury surgeries, 4 basically putting his knees back together, an extraordinary private life where the world was waiting on his every move because he absolutely and utterly imploded around sexual shenanigans with waitresses and his wife hitting his car with a golf club and God knows what, the death of his father, the complete and utter soul-searching and apologist that was Tiger Woods 7 or 8 years ago, the one that was arrested driving under the influence only 2 years ago because of the painkillers he was having to take prior to his final back operation. You can hardly bloody walk the guy. This guy has come back, and 18 months ago he was ranked 1199 in the world. 1199 professional golfers. There ain't that many more rankings. There's probably 2,000. It's as low as somebody like Tiger Woods could ever go.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind all the things that have happened to him, he then started this comeback, which culminated, I thought, probably as a 42-year-old in the winning of the Tour Championship at the end of last year, which is probably the 5th biggest tournament. But these 4 Holy Grail tournaments, the Open in Britain, the US Open, the Masters and the US PGA, he's got 14 of them, and he'd had 14 of them for 11 years, and he's now got 15. And to find the inner strength, to find the absolute centre of yourself to create such an enormous change in your fortunes when you are down and out. He's never going to be down and out money-wise. But in terms of down and out, in terms of being a person and being both physically and emotionally, to come back and do that is absolutely, for me, the biggest comeback in sporting history.
Fair play.
As a person.
So I'd liken him there to Ronnie and the amount...
Ronnie O'Sullivan's a very good example.
I wouldn't say turnaround, but the progression he's shown in psychological maturity is astounding.
Oh, it is.
The last 2-3 years, he's just... I think a lot of it's down to... Well, he wanted the help, but the help he's got from his psychological coaches, sports psychologists, has been... You can just see he's
You
better
watched
than
it with me, didn't you? The 1000th century of Ronnie O'Sullivan's career.
He got his last...
and he sauntered around the table.
Left-handed he potted the last...
And on 99 we weren't quite sure whether he was actually going to stop it there and choose it in another tournament, but he won the final with that break.
It's incredible.
And it was just... Yeah, people like Tiger Woods, people like Ronnie O'Sullivan, they have a sense of theatre, belonging, expectation, and they get the bloody job done.
They have the grace about them. They're the pure sport. They're the pure form of a sport, aren't they? Of what they do. They have it in them, and they're artists, in my opinion.
Actually, I've got to change my mind. I think the greatest comeback I have actually seen was you with your Roundabouts poem.
I never lose face with poetry. Many a thing.
Oh, that's good. I liked it. I liked it.
You know what? It's funny because I was watching some golf with Tiger Woods the other day. It's perfect hangover TV, isn't it? I didn't put it on, but someone else put it on.
Hangover TV?
Yeah, golf. You just put the golf on.
Oh, the azaleas and all that.
You don't. It's not Countdown, is it? Or, you know.
Not Susie. Not Susie Dench.
We're talking numbers here, not figures. Or figures.
Ooh.
That was almost good.
That was almost a dad joke.
what was I going to say? Yes. So yeah, like we worked out between us what his career earnings were outside of the EA Sports, what have you.
Yeah.
The sponsors, just pure tournament earnings. And I did a rough calculation about how many shots a golfer will take during a tournament or whatever.
Wow, I have got you on
Or a round.
statistics.
And it averaged out, ballpark figure, that he was averaging over his career about $5,000 a shot that he made in a tournament.
Wow. I mean, some of the shots that he hit on the back nine on Sunday were just dream shots. And I guess that's where Tiger Woods came in as the marketing man's dream. And I believe, was it the 2005 Masters? I think it was. And he was up against it. He played an awful shot to the 16th at Augusta, which is a big bowl green with a lake by the side of it. And he basically bombed it outright. And he found himself in a horrible place in a bunker. And if he played for the hole, he couldn't play for the hole. What he had to do was essentially aim 20 yards right, go all the way around the bowl, come back to himself down the hill, and the ball stopped on the edge of the hole with the Nike tick on it for about a second and then dropped in.
No.
And it was the most extraordinary golf shot. If you ever get a chance to see that, because of the sheer theatre of it. I think it's the 2005. But if you put Tiger Woods' great shots in, this is one of the shots that will come in. But I wanted to talk about another sporting comeback that was probably far braver, and from a physical point of view, and again from that sense of the individual sort of fighting all their demons and getting through them and managing to do something when they really shouldn't. Nicky Lauda. He's in 1976. Nicky Lauda was involved in a terrible crash in Formula One. He was he was leading the World Championship, and he was involved in one of those horrendous fireball accidents, and he burnt his head to the tune of he lost an ear. His ears melted, his features melted, and so on. And he inhaled all these toxic gases from both the fuel and also he burnt his trachea. He wasn't expected to live. He was not expected to live, the infections that could carry on and so on and so forth. And he was in a coma for about a week, I believe. And guess what? 2 weeks after, with his head swathed in bandages, he got back in a Formula One car.
Jesus.
And he got to within 1 point of winning.
Oh!
What happened?
What happened there? You were saying something then, weren't you?
I ran out of data. I ran out of data.
You ran out of data. Sorry about this, guys. We seem to have run out of data, so we've had to
We've managed to
video.
redo it. I was saying about Nicky Lauda and the fact that he essentially came back 2 weeks later as one of the greatest sporting comebacks and actually drove the car with his head completely sheathed in bandages, and he was coughing up all sorts, and he managed to do a 200-mile race and then went back to the hospital. And then 2 weeks later he basically wasn't sure whether he was going to live or die, and he still carried on racing. And now he is, as a 74, 75-year-old, he is not very well actually recently, but he's still going. He's now head of development at Mercedes Formula One.
Wow.
He is the most respected and revered of men, and he has this terrible disfigurement. I'm impressed by people who sort of transcend that type of thing. I've got one more. And that is, in 2003, there's an extraordinary woman called Bethany Hamilton.
Yeah.
And Bethany Hamilton essentially was a surfing champion in the States, a world-class surfer. And she was bitten by a 14-foot tiger shark. And she lost her complete left arm. And you say, well, 60% of her blood was lost. She was saved by other surfers. She was not expected to live. She was, I mean, it was an entire limb. 2 years later, in 2005, she was back on a surfboard at the World Championships and competing and winning titles with one arm. Now, if you can imagine, Tiger Woods might have gone through all this, and he says he's still got good hands. His back and his legs aren't as good as they used to be, but he's still got good hands. I mean, that's great. I mean, holding a golf club and so on and so forth. Nicky Lauda, he was only driving a car. Well, I've got news for you. To drive a car at that sort of speed and in that type of environment is very physically demanding.
Yeah. You need
But
balls of
Bethany
steel as
Hamilton got back to world surfing. I mean, I wouldn't go back in the water. 14-foot tiger shark off Maui, I think it was, in Hawaii. Just extraordinary tales of the human spirit. But also
That's
comebacks.
life for me.
Yeah, comebacks and upsets, if you like. I mean, Tiger Woods wasn't that much of an upset because he kind of built his way back up to it a little bit, but it was still an extraordinary comeback. But there have been many sporting comebacks and comebacks of people over many gaps of many years that have been so inspiring to so many people. If you find yourself in a terrible position, you've got to fight your way back out of it.
You do. If you're in a rut, you need...
I'm reminded of another sporting one, and this is my last sporting one, I promise. But it's Leicester City.
Right.
And Leicester City, in the 2014-15 season, were 6 games away from relegation. They were bottom of the table under a manager called Nigel Pearson. And they won all 6 to escape relegation. And basically they had to win all 6. They then sacked the manager. That's football for you. Mind you, there was other things behind the scenes, and Nigel Pearson, I don't think, helped himself particularly well. But they avoided relegation, sacked the manager, they brought in this crazy Italian called Claudio Ranieri, and the rest is history. They won the Premier League title as 5,000 to 1, and there ain't a bigger price. If you want to see whether or not there is alien life on Earth, you'll get 5,000 to 1. If you want to see whether or not you're going to be the next captain of England cricket team, it's 5,000 to 1.
Yeah.
Leicester City winning the Premier League was 5,000 to 1. And they did it.
That's what you say. It's about those. It's the unlikeliness of it and coming
Absolutely.
back. The grit that you need in order to resolve those situations.
The
for
Vardy
yourself.
effect.
The Vardy effect.
Good northern lad. That'll make one hell of a film.
Yes, you need some bloody mindedness as well, don't you? I mean, it's pure. That for me is why trees climb and stuff like that. It's just that ability to.
Somebody said bloody mindedness to me the other day, actually.
Just go regardless.
Somebody said bloody mindedness to me about my weight, and I think we all have an element of bloody mindedness in us in terms of losing weight. I saw it as stubbornness. Which is bloody mindedness, essentially, in a
Sure.
you can come into shot anytime you like. I thought the shot was going rather well. But bloody mindedness and turning that. I mean, I for years had been bloody minded about I'm going to eat and drink and consume anything that I want to consume. And I turned that on its head and used exactly the same stubbornness and bloody mindedness to say, I'm not going to do that anymore. And I think we all have it in us. It's about that free will, that choice mechanism, but also our nature. And I think you can achieve great things if you channel into that nature, into that stubbornness, into that intrinsic you-ness. And I think that's what Tiger Woods just did. He remembered every good day and managed to translate that into another one. And I think experience helped him. I'm not sure it helped Leicester City or even Bethany Hamilton or even Nicky Lauda. But in terms of the great sporting comebacks, that was way, way up there. And fair play to this fella.
Absolutely.
This is the man who was a complete and utter groundbreaker. He won the Masters in 1997 by 12 shots as basically a first-year professional.
That's
He
incredible.
obliterated the world of golf. And this was a black man on a Georgian plantation course where, I mean, there were people prior to Tiger Woods like Lee Elder who essentially broke those moulds. But it was not more than a decade previous that no black man could be even a golfing member or even play the course at Augusta. So to do that, and this time, for the colour of his skin not to matter, it was more about him as an individual rather than a young, vibrant, slightly mould-breaking young black man.
Yeah.
And for that is his greatest achievement.
Yeah, I mean,
transcend.
I
To
can't
transcend.
deny that. I'm not massively into the world of golf, but there we go.
There you go. You might be from now on. You live next to a golf course, for God's sake.
I live next to the moors.
Anyway, sporting comeback.
Yes.
Tiger Woods. Right,
There we
nice
go.
one. I guess we're going to put some stuff out on the event at Riri's.
Yes.
And thanks to all the bobbers for watching and for listening. It really does make a difference to us. Any feedback gratefully received.
Yes.
And if you have spotted the coffee...
I'll take that for sponsorship.
then essentially you will get a Battenberg key.
Yes.
Side pie the
Postage
poet
and
again.
patches included. Mr. Sleek,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Nice. Oh, I know.